Today, on The Raging Atheist, we're taking another look at the movie Science Falsely So Called. And just within the first 10-15 minutes of this movie, we are able to completely prove every single person in this movie to be a complete fraud and liar. What is up, you heathens and demons, you beautiful people? Welcome back to The Raging Atheist. I'm your boy Nakasuchi. Today we're taking another look at the movie I was in. And while I said that it's got good qualities to the movie itself, it watches well, it's a good quality movie, it's not truthful at all. And we're going to continue to dissect this movie, continue to break it down piece by wretched piece, and prove that they're not genuine actors, and prove that they don't know how to tell the truth, and they're not interested in the truth, that they're only interested in manipulation and sucking you in to their cult. This new IFB. It's the whole point. It's the whole point. It's bringing more sheep to be herded in the direction we want them herded. And we will use any means necessary, including just complete and outright lies. So we're going to get right into it. We're going to get right into the lies that they be saying. Right off the get, Matt Powell is going to lie to your face.
Ernst Haeckel went over to Germany and he drew these fake drawings of a human embryo and a dog embryo to make them look exactly alike. He was convicted of fraud by his own secular university, and the same textbooks that you studied in school and that any public schooler for the past 130 years has studied are from Ernst Haeckel.
Alright, for one, Ernst Haeckel didn't go to Germany and draw these drawings. Ernst Haeckel was German. He was from Germany. He lived in Germany. Lie. 2, he was not convicted of fraud by his own secular university. Notice that he doesn't mention the name of the university. He was not convicted of fraud by them. The head of that university, or whatever group he was part of, that came out and said that, the drawings were based upon hypothesis. And Ernst Haeckel never disputed that, as far as I was able to find. And 3, they aren't in any fucking textbooks and haven't been for 50 or 60 years. So he's lying. Straight up lying. He never saw those fucking drawings in a textbook. I never saw those drawings in a textbook. What he's doing is it's an old con trick. So what he's doing is he's linking a memory that you have of seeing pictures of embryos in your science book, and then he's giving you an association to what he's saying. So you'll link that memory to what he's saying, and so you think you have some verification to what he's saying, even though what he's saying is a complete and utter lie. The United States as a whole stopped using drawings of fetuses in their textbooks 50 to 60 years ago, and started using actual photographs of fetuses in their textbooks. So Matt Powell, once again, is a fucking liar.
So he believed spontaneous generation had to happen. That is, life had to start from non-living material. Otherwise, there would have to be a creator to create it. I would agree. There was a creator. I happen to know him personally.
Again, another complete fallacy, another complete lie. Haeckel's work had nothing to do with spontaneous generation. Nothing to do with it at all. Haeckel's work was on embryonic science, and he didn't think that life came from nothing, or whatever the fuck Kent Hovind is saying right there. He thinks that life came from the mother, that the embryo came from the mother and the father, and there is, it's a fallacy. What the fuck he's saying?
It wasn't like they just went into the laboratory and just came to the conclusion that there's no God. No, they set out to prove that there is no God. They set out with a presupposition saying all our scientific claims are going to be without God. you brought up Charles Darwin, and you hold to Charles Darwin.
I agree with most of what I read, yes.
Okay. So Charles Darwin's book, The Origin of Species by Means of Natural Selection,
I've read
you ever heard of
it?
it?
Yeah, I've read it.
Do you know what the other title of that book is?
No.
Okay. The other title of the book, and it's the original title of that book, is The Preservation of Favored Races in the Struggle for Life. That's the title of his book.
Alright, so I already dealt with the bullshit about the title of the book. Just a complete fallacy, a complete lie. Read The Origin of Species, you'll see for yourself. Read a fucking review on it. Read a fucking summary. You'll see for yourself. Nothing like the bell curve, nothing like that. You know, nothing about white race is better than any other race, or any race is better than any other race. Natural selection is something that has happened in the past, still is happening, but the world has changed. Evolution has changed. Evolution is no longer so much about a physical thing, although we are losing certain shits that we don't need. It's more about a mental thing, and in my opinion, the evolution of the mind is our next stage of evolution. But what he's saying at the beginning of this video is complete fucking bullshit. Charles Darwin was not an atheist setting out to prove that God didn't exist. And anybody that can actually research and look at the history of Charles Darwin will know that to be a fact. That's a known fact. Charles Darwin was a Christian who, over years of scientific evidence staring him in the face of evolution, came to not believe in God. Over years of that. And he fought against it. Like he was actually trying to prove the existence of God. I might have went overboard there. I'm not sure if he was trying to prove the existence of God, but it's a fact that he was a Christian, and what Matt Powell is saying isn't true. He wasn't an atheist going out trying to disprove the existence of God. He just had years of scientific evidence staring him in the face, and that led him away from a belief in God, to the point that when he did release The Origin of Species, he understood that he was denouncing creationism. He was saying that God didn't create us. And he understood the ramifications of that, because he was one of those people for most of his life. And it's just, you know, you can't keep believing in a lie when the truth is staring you right in the face. You just can't.
The strongest survive. Natural selection favors certain race. The human race was the strongest of the hominids. That's proven. We destroyed the Neanderthals when we came in contact with them, because Neanderthals came out of Africa 20,000 years before we did. They weren't allowed to continue to evolve, and we absolutely destroyed them, wiped them off the face of the earth.
Evolution is unproved and unprovable. We believe it because the only alternative is special creation, and that is unthinkable.
See, there he is only slightly misrepresenting me. He's throwing me into where I'm talking about natural selection in an evolutionary sense, and he's putting it into where they're trying to lump natural selection in a white supremacist sense, if you could dig my flow there. So let me break that down. What I just said was 100% completely true. Now, I don't think that natural selection is any kind of an excuse for any kind of skin color human being to think they're better than the other human being. Natural selection is about races as a whole, you know, the human race. It's not about the individuals, and you do get to those minute sections. I'm not going to say you don't, but even when you get to those minute sections, I don't think it can be argued that one is better than the other. You know, we have all survived natural selection. Each race, the human race itself, survived natural selection. And what I'm talking about there is based on the fossil record. The fossil record clearly shows it. We have the evidence. And this is why I tend to believe that evolution is the most probable of our origin stories. Is because we have the fossil evidence showing us plain as day that we evolved in Africa. Africa was this special brewing pot of creation. You know, we went from monkeys to modern humans in Africa. But throughout that period, that long period of evolution, certain segments of hominids would come out of Africa before they were ready to come out of Africa. One of those segments was the Neanderthals. And those Neanderthals came out about 20,000 years before modern humans came out of Africa. And they settled in Europe. And lived there for about 20,000 years. And they were thriving there until we came. And that is why, you know, we had this misconception that they were our ancestor. Is because, you know, modern civilization came from Europe. And in Europe, they're finding Neanderthal shit. So we had this misconception, but now we know that that's not true. They weren't human, you know, Homo sapiens. They weren't the same exact DNA. They were slightly different hominids. And then when we came out of Africa 20,000 years later, well, we took a path up, and then we branched out. And the fossil record shows all of this. And one segment of that migration went this way and would eventually go all the way down into Australia. The other curved this way and went up into Europe. This other branch of migration came into contact with the Neanderthals. And we did fucking wipe them out. That is just human history. And I'm not speaking of anything about whites against blacks or whites against Asians or this race against that race. I'm speaking on races as a whole. The Homo sapiens survived the natural selection and came out of Africa, and we have dominated this world since. We have changed the face of this world. We have changed the history of this world. We have done damage to this world. And that's just fucking true.
I can imagine the terror that he was feeling inside of him, thinking about God, thinking about having to answer to somebody. You know, this must be the case, a lot of people say, because they know that there will be repercussions if it's not the case.
Now, when you say that something must be true, that means you're going to try to find evidence that proves your case. Now, if it must be true, why does he believe it must be true? What's he hiding?
You see, and this is just the basic paranoia that they can't understand their own personal fucking fears and just shit that they don't like about themselves, right? This is, you know, yeah, if you come up with a theory and then you set out to prove that theory, you're not hiding nothing. You want to find evidence to say you're right. You see, and Christians and religious people have a hard time understanding that because they don't want evidence. They don't need evidence to say they're right. They don't need that. They don't need that. They don't need evidence. All they need is belief. All they need is faith. So they don't understand that, and they think you're hiding something when you're just seeking the truth. And it is especially true of these fundamental Christians. Not all Christians are the stereotype that I'm painting. But these motherfuckers, they say this is true and goddamn any evidence otherwise. And goddamn you for finding any evidence against this truth that is truth no matter the evidence you find, because goddamn you for looking for it. I mean, that's a motherfucker right there.
A lot of times atheists will make fun of us because they say, you know, we believe in a book that's been written by man. Here's the thing, all their textbooks have been written by man, and they believe all those textbooks, and they don't question that for a second. You know, when they see all those embryos that, you know, supposedly all the embryos from all the different animals look exactly like humans, when they see those embryos that were drawn by Ernst Haeckel, you know, they just accept that as fact, but they won't do the research and see that in the early 1900s that was proven false.
Alright, you hairy motherfucker. I mean, you trying to keep it all short, but you can just tell you a hairy dude, right? I mean, you can look at this guy and be like, hairy. He got hair everywhere, right? You can just look at him and tell. Alright, hairy motherfucker. When you go onto a movie that you're going to be releasing, you can't do the basic research to find out that they stopped doing that shit 50 to 60 years ago and that we're not actually looking at those fucking pictures? Because that would be so easily proven and researched, and anybody can fucking do it if they're not intellectually lazy. See, and you're banking on the intellectually lazy people not doing it, but everybody's not intellectually lazy, and a motherfucker like me gonna come along and do it and realize you're full of shit.
Ernst Haeckel was shown to be a liar. He was shown to be fraudulent, but somehow those pictures of those falsified embryos are still in textbooks today. But they'll believe it. They're just basing it all off the fact of that they don't want to believe in God.
If you tell a kid long enough, hey, you're an animal, you're an animal, you're an animal, eventually they're just going to break down and feel like they're worthless and that they're not made in the image of God. Hey, the Bible says that God made us in His own image. And that's why a lot of these school shootings happen. And it's becoming more and more prevalent today as time moves on. Suicide rates have skyrocketed since evolution's been taught in schools.
Here, just complete and utter horse shit again. Blaming all of society's woes on scientific truth instead of the actual problems that society is facing. Instead of the gun crisis that is leading to all these suicides and school shootings. It's not evolutionary science. It's not the realization that we're hairless apes with sentient minds, that our minds have evolved beyond anything else upon this planet. It can't be the guns. It can't be, you know, the Christian evangelical rule of this country, stopping people from getting contraceptives, trying to stop and demonize abortion, trying to demonize the people getting abortions, which would cause abortions to rise because they can't get contraception. You know, it wasn't all of that, and it hasn't been, you know, science and people getting beyond that shit to realize that contraception is needed, and that the more that we've actually encourage safe sex, and that we've had a drop in abortions, we've had a drop in teen pregnancy. I mean, they're not going to give you the truth of this shit. And it's hard to deflate all of the lies because you got so many fucking lies coming at you. It's hard to pick apart all of them. And you really got to just call these motherfuckers out for what they are. I mean, they are the Donald Trumps of Christianity. They are the biggest liars there is.
Children being aborted has skyrocketed ever since evolution's been brought into schools. You know, death and murder has skyrocketed ever since we brought it into the schools, and it's infiltrating and it's messing with the minds of the young people and of the next generation. And as a college student, I look at that and I think, wow, if they only knew the evidence, if they only knew the true science that the Bible speaks of, but also the science that is so right and so plain before their eyes.
Just like I just said, abortion's at an all-time low because there's information out there now, there's contraceptions out there now. Back when the evangelicals had a complete iron hold on this fucking country, and even talking about a condom was considered fucking taboo, you know, yeah, abortions were up. Abortions were high. You know, back in the 90s when you had an explosion of people, yeah, abortions were up, abortions were high. But now that we've actually had good education in our schools, and people are learning about safe sex, and people are learning about, you know, just living in a modern society and using your brain and thinking about things ahead of time, abortions are actually at an all-time low. Secularism is winning.
Wenn wir selbst, dieses deutsche Volk,
and again, he's got to bring in Adolf Hitler, you know, because it's never about the truth. It's not, you know, they don't want to present to you solid, truthful reasons not to believe in evolution. What they want to do is make you afraid of evolution, make you afraid of science. Adolf Hitler, be afraid Adolf Hitler. But let's really take a good long look at that quote they just utilized to demonize evolution. And let's just look at that quote. Make the lie big. Make it simple. Keep saying it. And eventually, they will believe it. What lie ever told has been bigger than the lie of God? What lie ever told has been more simple than the lie of God? What lie on the history of the planet has been said more than the lie of God? And what lie in the entire history of this planet has been believed more than the lie of God? So as I've proven, these motherfuckers aren't honest. They aren't genuine. They're not going to give you any semblance of truth. They're just going to try to make you afraid. Suck you into their cult. Because only they know the truth. Only they know the true science. But we'll continue this. Because this was only part one of this stupid ass fucking movie. We're only like 15, 20 minutes into it now. We still got a lot more to cover. And that'll be coming soon. But I'm going to get back to some Cult Bunny shit. I think I, by now, should have introduced a new one. I'm going to get back into some crazy cult shit. And I really want to do another Quiverful video. I mean, the 2 videos I made on the Quiverful movement are some of my more popular videos. So I'd really like to take another look at that. But as always, I'm your boy Nakasuchi. This is The Raging Atheist. If you like my videos, hit that thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, share me on your social media, comment in the comment section below. I'll see you soon.